All right.
Tonight is a special edition of the Bro Show. As usual, Christian and Alan are your
I
bros.
don't know if we call it special. It's
Well,
a oh shit, the oh shit edition of the bro show.
but
Yeah.
we're recording the week of the Houston floods due to tropical storm formerly known as Hurricane Harvey. And one of us, me, is in Houston. So that's why it's special.
Yeah. So, um, how are things going over there?
Personally, very good, all things considered. We were very
Okay.
blessed to be outside of the really bad areas where there's extreme flooding and evacuations and power outages and things of that sort. Um, our house, if you just looked at our house and our street, you wouldn't even really know that we were in the middle of this record breaking catastrophe. But just looking at the news and kind of seeing road closures and hearing all the different messages they have. Like, it's weird. They on the news it said 911 calls. The 911 call center is at capacity, so please only call
Mm-hmm.
if you're in a true emergency. And it's funny because I thought every emergency was a true emergency, but you
No,
know,
no, it makes sense. I mean, yeah, there's like life threatening or not
yeah, like
life
if you're
threatening.
in imminent danger, then call 911. Because well,
And
and they
yeah,
did say that.
and people will give like people will be stupid about using something like any tool. So 911 is a tool, right? But
Well,
people
and I
just
think it's relative. I wouldn't call I wouldn't go so far as to say they're stupid, but any normal situation when I have
okay.
ankle deep water in my living room, that's an emergency. But in this case, with the whole city being, like waist deep, chest deep, with cars being stranded and people trapped in their cars, then I guess ankle deep water in your living room is not so much of an emergency. So that's kind of the message they were putting out.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the better message to put out versus
Yeah, like
don't
if you,
call
I mean, if I
unless you
if
have
I
an
go into
actual
the
emergency.
ER of a hospital and my leg is broken, to me it's an emergency. But if the guy behind me is like bleeding out from a gunshot wound, then okay, I guess take care of him first. So
It's a good question. Like just in general, what circumstances? What do you think is the line for when you would call 911 versus not call
um,
911?
yeah,
Disaster
I don't know.
aside.
For me, like it didn't really. It didn't hit that close to home whether or not to call 911. Again, we were blessed to where I never really even had to consider calling 911. But returning to work, that part did kind of become an issue. Like, how capable was I to be at work as opposed to being home with the family? And so there were a few things to consider. One was
Mm-hmm.
the nature of my work. I'm not a first responder. I'm not a civil servant. I'm not a member of the media. I'm not a medical in the medical field. So, in that respect, if I stay home, it's probably not gonna. Um, I'm not gonna save anybody's life by going to work. Um, and then at home,
Mm-hmm.
there's two grandmas in the house. We have my mom and my wife's mom, and then we have two young daughters. So that made it even more important that I should be home instead of being at work. So those are some things to consider. Because there were a lot of like volunteers, like an overwhelming, impressive number of volunteers that came out of the woodwork to just help with the rescue efforts and volunteer at shelters and donate food and time and stuff, and that was really impressive. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and part of me was like on the fence. I'm like, maybe should I be going out there and helping out, or should I be staying home and taking care of my own family? It wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
It To me, it was a clear decision, but it wasn't an easy decision because how do I know if by me staying home, making sure that my family is not just alive and well, but comfortable? How do I know that I'm not sacrificing, the welfare of somebody else because I could be helping them? So that dilemma kind of came up in my own head. We
Mm-hmm.
did when we went to the grocery store. We kind of doubled up on all our groceries because everything we bought for ourselves, we tried to buy some stuff to donate also. So that was one way we were kind of able to help. But it was this balancing act of um, how much should I be helping everyone else, and how much should I be concerned with my own family? If I separated myself from the family and they were all stressed out, then was I really helping? Or even myself, like how satisfied would I be if I spent my time doing one thing and not the other? Because unfortunately, there's only one of everyone, and so you gotta pick your time doing something. So those are the kind of things that was running through my mind
Mm-hmm.
whenever I was just watching the news and seeing everybody getting rescued, and everybody in the shelters and stuff. And it's been pretty revealing, the kind of things that go on, the kind of situations that come out of these devastating situations.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of taking a little bit of a left turn.
Mhm.
I was thinking about the idea of staying versus evacuating,
Mhm.
and so like would what would it take for you to evacuate there?
Um, just based on what we've been hearing, um, they're
Mm-hmm.
pretty clear about certain counties. Like, you guys, this is a mandatory evacuation. You really need to get out. Not that they would pull you out of your homes, but on the news they would say mandatory evacuation for this county for this reason. Whether it was the weather, or it was we predict that the water levels are going to rise in your area because of the drainage. So the
Mm-hmm.
problem was kind of compound that way. And then another one was if it is a voluntary evacuation, then there's those other factors. Like, if you live in a one-story home, you should probably get out if they have a voluntary evacuation, because you don't have that other option of going upstairs. Um, if you, like,
Mm-hmm.
for us, because of our young kids and because of the old ladies that live with us, we're not as able-bodied to withstand some of these severe weather conditions, so we should probably evacuate. Um, there's other things. Oh, tornado warnings.
Mm-hmm.
So what's weird was they're like, okay, if it floods, you got to go up, but if there's a tornado warning, you got to go down. We're like, oh, well, what do we do?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. You don't want to be up top when the tornado hits. You
Yeah,
definitely want to be underground. So
yeah,
yeah, you're
yeah,
right though.
yeah.
It's kind of a different response.
Hmm. Hmm.
I never thought about that before, but yeah, I heard somewhere that actually it was like the governor of Texas and like the mayor of Houston were on opposing viewpoints of whether evacuation should happen or not, which is why I asked you.
Hmm.
Like, it's not. I don't think it's a straightforward. You should do this versus you should do that.
Yeah, well, and
Especially if especially if it were to come down to the point where it is much more of a judgment
hmm,
call.
yeah, well, the thing with evacuating prematurely, I guess, widespread panic is one. You're going to clog up those
Mm-hmm.
roadways and almost trap everyone there because the roads are too crowded because everyone's evacuating. So that's one.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is, for the most part, we were safer in our homes than we were in cars out on the road. So if, like, if they didn't think they could evacuate everyone, then would you even attempt to evacuate? Because now you're putting yourselves in harm's way just in that little window that you're in your vehicle. So I guess that was another reason to kind of stay
Yep.
home. Something that's coming up recently, looters. Like, whenever you have this evacuation, then it leaves that area like kind of a breeding ground for looters and people that try to take advantage. Predators that go and vandalize
Mm-hmm.
and burglarize and stuff. So yeah, there are different factors. I
Yep.
mean, I can see both sides of the coin. I'm glad we didn't evacuate, but heck, I can. It's easier for me to say that because, I mean, so far nothing's happened to our house.
Mm-hmm. You're not in
Right.
the you're not in
Maybe if
the
I had
like
to, swim
danger zone,
through
right?
chest high
So
water with holding two kids and dragging two grandmas and stuff, and plus my wife. Not to say that she can just take care of herself. We got to take care of each other. Maybe I would have said, hey, how come we didn't evacuate? Why didn't they do something different?
mm-hmm.
Luckily, I haven't had to be in that situation. But the based on
Yeah.
all the interviews that I'm seeing of the people that did have to evacuate, none of them really were saying that. As far, well, not on the air anyway. They were just talking about
Mm-hmm.
how grateful they were, and um, the system of volunteers and the communication of everybody seems like it was about as good
Yeah.
as can be, and not to say that it was successful because it's a record-breaking event and no one was
Right.
prepared for the magnitude of it, especially how fast it happened. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways to handle it, and
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, just again out of the comfort of this little bubble that we have, where we didn't even lose Wi-Fi, or
That would be a real
clean.
disaster.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's
no
not kid
kidding.
ourselves. So, like, what?
Yeah,
No Wi-Fi? Shit! I'm trapped with all you guys.
I gotta
Evacuate now!
evacuate.
Evac! Yeah, evac.
Yeah.
Send out a chopper, quick.
Yeah, I've been texting some of my coworkers, that live in different parts of the city and stuff, and um, some of the ones that were responding quickly, it was like boredom was basically
Yeah.
the biggest problem was because you can't go anywhere. Everything's closed, and you can't even visit anybody because all the roadways are closed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those are best case scenarios. The worst case scenarios were the people that weren't really responding back. I'd say, "Hey,
Yeah.
everything all right? Did you make it out of there, right?" And like they wouldn't respond back. I'm like, "Oh man."
Oh,
Like,
okay. So on that note, I don't know if you know this, but on Facebook,
uh-huh.
there is a feature where you can. It's called Safety Check, and there's a feature where you can actually click a thing to let all your friends on Facebook know you're safe. I don't know if you know about that, but
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought I saw
yeah.
some people doing that. I
You should
know.
do that. Is what I'm saying. Because everybody was asking me, like, "Hey, how's your brother doing?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's funny because
On Facebook, it says he's not there.
yeah. Well, the funny thing is, like it says, there are 5 people in the area, right? And only one person marked themselves as safe. And so I look to see
Uh-huh.
who's the one person who marked themselves as safe. And of course, it's my buddy Chris Davis, who is a computer science, one of my computer science classmates. So it's like only the nerds know about the technology
Yeah.
that can be used to like alert other people and say, "Oh, you're fine,"
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and
So
for
I'm
me,
like, "Oh,
like
great."
selfishly, I kind of liked the text messages coming in. It kind of gave me an excuse to talk to everybody again. Like, hey, well, I'm fine, but hey, how's it going, man?
I was trying to do the opposite. Like, I was trying to leave you alone, but
Yeah, yeah.
I
No, I
guess
mean,
yeah.
and I guess if I had like a too many of them, I don't have too many friends or people anyway. So the people
Oh,
that
okay.
call or text me was a manageable amount.
That's
But
sad.
you're right. If I had like 1,000 calls an hour, then maybe I would have to do
Yeah,
one of those check-in safe things. But if
sure.
it's like Alan is safe, all 12 of his friends know. Like
Thanks, Facebook.
yeah.
Really reaching out there. Those 12.
But like well, it's a weird and the left turn that I would take. In a weird way, it reminded me of last year, around this time. It was this month last
Hmm.
year that our oldest daughter, Charlene, had her heart surgery.
Yeah, Charlene. That's right.
Yeah, and we had a plethora of text messages then too. How's everybody
Hmm.
doing? How are you guys? And same thing. Whenever the phone would buzz or ring or anything, we were happy to answer it. But however, we were blessed in that regard too, where everything was going really well. We didn't have there wasn't a time where we're like, it's not the right time. I shouldn't answer this.
Right.
It seemed like it's like God was coordinating our text messages. So I don't know what it was, but
Okay.
we weren't overwhelmed with the amount of attention we were getting for the type of situation that we were in. So
Sure.
luckily, all we had to do was say, "We're fine." And I even did a little bit of copy and pasting, not just okay. I didn't want to give everyone the
Mm.
generic okay, but I give the oh we're okay. By the way, this is happening. Like oh hey, we even went to the grocery store
Mm.
today, or hey, at work we didn't have to go to work today because we can't make it there. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's everybody that called and texted, and not just me, but like I guess 4 of us between the 2 grandmas and me and my wife. It was kind of nice that
Hmm.
everybody was kind of remembering us and paying attention to us and caring. Even just that little bit helps.
Yeah. Well, the context is slightly different because with the it's actually weird because I think maybe the more the situation that I would probably hold my breath more for is for what happened to your daughter last year, like going through that surgery. But there's not like a 24-hour news cycle saying like, here's what it could be like in Houston right now. Just devastation, you know. And so your daughter having that heart surgery, it's not like, you know, like, oh, all these news articles coming up on like heart surgeries all of a sudden. Whoa, what's going on here, you know? Like another one bites the dust. It's like, whoa, what? You know? The leading cause of something in America. It's like, oh no. So I mean that becomes a little more. I mean, it's misplaced, right? So yeah.
Well, yeah. In that regard, it reminds me a little bit of 9/11 because I was in the Navy then,
right?
And people were calling and stuff, and especially our mom. She was calling. I'm seeing on the news that there's you guys are going to war. Are you gonna be okay? I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm fine. Like, I'm in the restroom right now. But
I thought you were thinking about actual 9/11 because for actual 9/11, probably the one who was the biggest concern was Mom because she was in Staten Island.
Yes, I guess yes.
And then also all the phone lines were like totally like you know
that's
not just 911, just all the phone lines, all the cell
right.
phone towers are super loaded, so you couldn't even call like it would just be infinite ringing.
Yeah, that's okay. So
yes, like,
it should have reminded me of that, but I was being selfish and it reminded me of my own situation.
You think about after the like when you were deployed and stuff in 9/11, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess what I meant was the phone calls and the text messages that I got based on people watching the news. Like, and that's why it reminded me of that situation because the news is going to show, you know, it like the worst case scenarios. I mean, it's what they should show.
Yeah.
But what they're not going to show is all of us just with Wi-Fi and stuff, you know?
So I was going to say, maybe we should take this opportunity. Let's tell your story.
Okay.
Like, your story, you know what I mean? Like, you mentioned, for example, like shooting hoops, right? Like, stuff like that.
So,
like, just, and you can elaborate on shooting hoops because people might be confused as to what, so I'll let you take it away. But give us the real scoop.
What did I mention shooting hoops?
You were talking about shooting basketball, and you were having an off day because yesterday, like even Lola was like making shots, making baskets. The whole family was shooting. So, anyways, I will shut up and you can take it away. Here's what really happened in Hurricane Harvey, according to Alan.
Yeah. So from the Manilanson household. Okay. So yeah, we get like hurricane type news every year, right? We have a hurricane season here in Southeast Texas. So everyone's like, okay, be aware, watch the weather, yada, 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 stock up bottles of water and generators and stuff. And we're like, man, that's a lot of over-preparing. But for me, when it hit home was around Thursday or Friday of last week before it started. We started seeing the gas stations, like a lot of cars at the gas stations. And because on the Amber Alert on the freeways, it said, fill up your tanks. You know, there's this tropical depression approaching. And so we're like, okay, we should fill up our tanks, I guess. Fine, let's do it. But I'm going to do it whenever it's not so crowded because I don't want to wait an hour in this line of cars that are waiting.
Wait, hold on. So you're not willing to wait an hour, but at the same time, and don't lie to me here, do you get your gas at Costco?
Yeah.
So what the
hell? The point was I knew that there'd be a time when there wasn't as long of a line, which is like 7 or 8 a.m.
It's just funny to juxtapose that. Natural disaster, I don't want to wait. Caught 10 cents off gas? I'm in. I'm going to wait.
Another thing was...
Go ahead.
I think our gas tanks were like at 60%. You know, we weren't ready. We weren't really at gas station... I mean, it's not like our gas tanks were empty anyway. Anyway, yeah. So the thought process was, we do need to fill up, but let's do it whenever we don't have to wait in this line. So another thing was, my wife, she does a lot of Facebook, like she'll look at the articles and stuff, and a lot of people getting water, and so we go to Costco, and it's like the water was going on sale, like everyone, it was like selling like hotcakes, and then there are even like 2 or 3 attendants just distributing bottles of water onto people's carts. And then when you walk around, like all the Costco carts had like 2 or 3 cases of water, as if you were required to buy water as you were leaving Costco. So we're like, well, maybe we should get some too. I mean,
oh man,
you know, partly because we're human beings and we're like sheep, But partly we're like, okay, maybe there is something to this tropical depression because everyone seems to be responding to it, you know. So,
Sure.
but still, like one of the things that
Yeah.
was throwing us off was our works, our employers weren't calling us, telling us don't come to work. So we're like, oh, if they're telling us, if they're not saying that, then I guess we're okay.
Mm-hmm.
But Saturday evening, this was like 2 days later. Like so, this Saturday evening before the storm hit, I guess the night of the first bit of the storm, um, we see on the news like it's be turned into a
Mm-hmm.
hurricane and it's gonna hit land like Saturday night, and then it's turned into like a Category 4 hurricane, which we haven't had one of those since like over a decade, right? We're like, wow, that sounds pretty serious, man. So, but still, I still go to work, and I'm like, maybe I'll write it out until I get
Yeah.
home. Well, just by sheer luck, they didn't need me at work. Like not regarding the weather or anything. Well, so I ended up leaving
Mm.
early. I was supposed to work like a 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. shift, but I ended up going only 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., like a little 4 hour shift, and then coming home. Well, my drive home was really rough. Like it seemed like the first
Mm-hmm.
bit of the storm was hitting my car, and I got a little Mazda 3, so I'm getting whipped around all over the place like a little
Right.
micro machine. You know, I don't have one of them
Sure.
big high profile trucks or anything. So I'm like, oh man,
Which is funny because they would think, again, Houston, Texas, a lot of trucks, right, and a
yeah,
lot of the
yeah,
stereotype,
yeah. Well, not for this guy,
So,
you
but
know.
you're not one of those. Okay.
Another juxtaposition that. So
Yeah.
so I'm like, all right, if I could just make it to, there's a gas station nearby our house, then maybe I could ride it out there. Well, at the
Wait,
exit.
wait, wait, wait. You already filled up for gas, right?
Well, no, not to fill up for gas, but even to go home, because like my wife said that the road was flooded by our house. Yeah, not
So,
so.
so you
I'm
would
talking
just
about
stop
just
at a
to,
gas station
yeah, just
to
to
like.
stop, just to pull over somewhere so I could like shelter in place in the parking lot.
Oh, like because of the roof, then, like the roof of the gas station or
Or
something.
just the
Is that
parking
what you're
lot, because
saying?
the parking lot's a little bit higher than the street level, just so my car wouldn't flood.
Oh, right, right, right.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
so now I'm just
Yeah,
looking
I
for
didn't think
like
about that. Okay.
somewhere where like the rims of my tires weren't underwater. You know.
Yep.
So as I exit the freeway, I'm supposed to turn right to go to our subdivision. Well, turning right is closed. Like all the cops are forcing us left. I'm like, oh, this ain't good. And and I look over
Yeah.
to the right, like where I'm supposed to go, and it's like a river. Like my car is not making it through that.
Oh shoot.
It's like it would be like up to my headlights. I'm like, oh my goodness. Number one, good thing they turned me away.
Yeah.
Number two, what the heck am I going to do now? Because it's like 9 p.m. and they said that
Yeah.
the worst part of the storm is still ahead of us. So I'm like, man, I hope
Mm-hmm.
something's open to where I could like I could just like shelter somewhere else. So I ended up under like the Walmart right next
Mm-hmm.
to the house and just kind of walking around, just not doing much, but a few of us were. And eventually, I said, you know what? Let me just try to make it home. I guess in the little window that I decided to make the trek, the water had the water level had lowered just enough to where I could make it home. Like I was still kind of fighting the flood, but it was like going through like a pretty deep puddle or something, and it wasn't impassable. Um, that night though, it was really bad. Like the storm was really bad to where it was such a blessing that I came home at the time that I did, because I think if I would have had to stay at work the entire 12 hours, I might have got stuck there, because I work like 35 miles away, and that commute home, I don't think I would have made it, especially not in the little car that I had.
Okay.
So
Right.
yeah, that was basically that first day was like 80% of the concern for us. Um, Now, with that said, there were some other concerns for the next few days, but it was weird because they were evolving
Mm-hmm.
concerns. So the first day was, okay, are we going to survive this thing? Um, what's our backup plan? Which we didn't have much of a backup plan. Um, but the next phase was like, all right, do we have enough to eat? What if the power goes out? Milk, like a lot of, there were no stores
Mm-hmm.
open, nothing like that. um, and then there was this the water had resided, but this weird thing happened, like I saw in the news, where if the whole area is flooded, then there's these rescue boats that can kind of go in there and rescue people and like boat them to safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
But whenever the water lowers, now you have like deep like places where there's a lot of high water, and then you have these dry areas, so the boats can't get past where there's not water there.
Right.
So there were
Yeah.
these places where, let's say like some family lives at the end of the street. Well, if there's high water and then there's dry and then there's high water, you can't get a truck is not
You can't get to
a
those
truck is not
people.
high enough to get through the water, and a boat can't get through the dry area. So essentially, that family would be trapped.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of weird things. Like you almost hope for higher water when you're in that situation, you know.
Right.
But you don't want the higher water if you're like an 18-wheeler stuck in the middle of the road, you know, and then the water level is rising like up to your windshield and stuff. So yeah, there are a lot of different situations to where the responders had to adapt accordingly, and then you had volunteers that wanted to lend their services, but then they also had no direction, you know, because there were these like the city tried to have these command centers to where they tried to coordinate all this stuff, but we were just watching through the news. They were like over the news, they had press conference after press conference. But if your power's out, or if you're out of the house with no TV, then how do you know all this information? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of it was kind of like a compound problem, which I've in my memory out of the you know the milestone disasters that I've seen in my lifetime, I've never seen like a prolonged evolving situation like this to where there's different things to worry about like different days. Like her
So were you actually that was what you were actually worried about on Saturday? Was like the dry spot thing?
well
Or?
on Saturday it was mostly the tornado warnings. There was like it seemed like every 10 minutes there was a
Okay.
new tornado warning all through the night. So like again, do you sleep upstairs or do you sleep downstairs? So the family kind of slept downstairs, but I couldn't really sleep because I'm like, any tornado warning, I'm gonna have to, or any if I see water coming in through the front door or something, I'm gonna have to move the family upstairs.
Yeah. Right.
But like, what if there's a tornado warning and we're already upstairs or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there's all these different situations that were kind of playing in my mind, and then so that's why when it came to the idea of how to help, my first concern was the best way I can help is to not be in a situation to where I need to be rescued too.
Where you need help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like it wouldn't be good if my if let's say I took the Mazda out and I tried to go help somebody and then I got stuck and now I'm up out there like needing to be helped too, you know. So yeah, that was the biggest concern out of many, you know. There was different situations. Like there was this one lady on the news talking about she was just trying to find like there was her family member was missing because they got evacuated at different times, but then like I guess the rescue boat that got her, they evacuated the shelter they took her to was different than the shelter they took her daughter to. And, you know, they didn't have phones or anything, so they're like, where is she? I don't know where the daughter is. How, you know, I was supposed to sit here and wait for her, but she never showed up. So, a lot of situations like that.
Yeah.
People driving the wrong direction on the freeway because they felt like they needed to go somewhere still, but there was a lot of high water on one side, but not on the
Something
other
was
side.
closed off.
There's these, they call them flood control reservoirs, and they're... people were wondering if the levees, the dams that were surrounding them, were going to get breached. Like if there's too much water and they're not strong enough or high enough to contain the water, then they're going to breach, and then that subdivision that's supposed to be protected from that reservoir, then they're going to flood, you know. So
So wait, so how do you know all this is going on?
the news.
Oh, okay, so hold on, let me stop you. So the news is the news. It's going on. If you want to know what's going on in the news, go watch news. I want to know you, like yours personal, what happened to
Well,
you.
the news was basically all the what if scenarios that play in my head, because
Oh.
some of this stuff, like
All right, so the moral is like don't watch news.
no.
dude.
Well, not unless it affects you.
Unless you're in
Yeah,
it.
if we never
Yeah,
watched
but-
the news, then maybe I would have never I would have never filled up my gas tank, or we would have never been prepared, because like when we went to the store, we went like luckily, there was a grocery store that opened up in our area. They didn't have milk though. The one thing that we really needed, you know, that everyone really needed was milk. You know, they didn't have milk. They didn't have eggs. They were very low on bottled water. So, you do have to kind of watch the news because it's not all hypothetical, not for them. Like in some instances, I guess there's little windows where I might as well be in a different state watching the news, where I'm like, oh man, that sucks for them. I'm glad that's not me. On the other hand, though, they'll be like, all right, now we're broadcasting from this other area, and it's like a really flooded situation, and you're like, dude, that's like 3 blocks from the house.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah. So we do still have to watch, you know.
Right. Okay then.
Yeah, and then again, all the people that were there, like, unfortunately, there were a couple of people that were texting just around the area, and we asked how they were doing, and the response wasn't so good. Like, you know, like some people got flooded or the house was destroyed or something, and like it sucks because there's not much you can do. You know, you're like, all right, well, let me know what I can do, is like the common response. Or they're like, all right, well, if there's anything I thought you could do, you know, I'd have you do it, but you can't even get to them. You know, it's not like you can deliver. You can have hey, let me get you a pizza, man, to make you feel better. Well, the pizza place is closed.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
that is an odd social sort of dynamic where we ask how people are doing, but then like, what if they say they're not doing well? Like, then what do you do?
Again, to bring it back to the like last year for the heart surgery, everyone was saying that, right? Like, and good on them, you know, well intended. Oh, let me know if you need anything. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you got any ideas? Like,
need a doctor?
Yeah.
Can you do open heart surgery? You know,
are you offering anything? You know?
No, I could use some of that right now.
So okay,
right.
So yeah, let me get back to a couple stories that are closer to home, though. I guess they're not nearly as exciting as on the news, but so school is closed. School was like kindergarten, right? Our 5-year-old's in kindergarten. It was closed from last Friday, and it's going to stay closed through next Monday. So that is a total of 11 days of just no school.
Wow.
So the kindergarten teacher sent like a little message that said, here's some things you can practice. You know, like write your name, tie your shoes, learn the colors, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we've been having her try to do that kind of stuff. It's been a combination of entertainment and try to be productive and try to prepare for the situation. One of the things we did was we made this little American Ninja Warrior course in the living room because, you know, she likes to show American Ninja Warrior, but we have the mattresses down there, and we made this little makeshift, like, all right, you gotta do a forward roll on this mattress, and then you gotta climb around this couch, and you gotta crawl underneath this little IKEA table, and then you gotta go do 2 pull-ups on the doorway, and you gotta go make a basket on this little play school basketball hoop. You know, so we do stuff like that, little
that's
recordings,
cool.
just kind of keep everybody entertained.
No, that's great.
Yeah. So, you know, those are like little memories that we'll have just kind of to ourselves that no one else cares about necessarily. But socially, there is like a social deprivation that we're experiencing, to where like a lot of people are like, all our coworkers are off work, right? Well, we kind of usually when we're all off, we kind of want to see each other just to kind of hang out and talk and stuff. But as much as we like each other, we've all been around each other for so long, you know. And sometimes we're kind of all in the same room just watching the news. Now, you know, with the technology era, sometimes one person just kind of goes off into the room just to kind of talk to somebody else on the phone.
It's some cabin fever going on, sounds like.
A little bit.
Sure.
And it's to the point where a couple times we just went around the neighborhood and riding bikes around all through the puddles and stuff. But then as we were riding bikes around the neighborhood, we'd see other families that were just kind of walking around, like
interesting.
Yeah, just to get out. I mean, not that it was a life or death situation still, but it was still something that we felt like, hey, it is kind of worth the little bit of risk to go out and do something else. You know.
Yeah. You still gotta live life, right? Like, so if you're not in the dire situation, well, then you're not in the dire situation. So okay, go try to do stuff.
Yeah, step out of the comfort zone a little bit. You know, fitness-wise, you know, we're still trying to kind of stay fit. We're every once in a while do a couple squats, a couple of push-ups, and stuff like that. It's not routine, of course. our mom, who lives like a couple of blocks away, we've been kind of driving back to her house every once in a while just to get some clean clothes and maybe some food that's in her
Mm-hmm.
refrigerator that we could use if it's going bad, or maybe some stuff that we're running out of and we can't get it from the grocery store anyway. You know, there's a couple places like
Yeah.
it looked like when we passed by the Waffle House. I don't know if they ever closed.
So that's so funny that you bring that up, because literally on my screen, I remember I'm subscribed to 538 on Twitter, and for those who don't know, 538, they do some interesting like data analysis sort of pieces and stuff like that. But the headline says like a former FEMA head says that if you get there and the Waffle House is closed, that's really bad.
Oh, really?
Like in terms of if you get to an air, like if FEMA has to respond to a place, right?
Yeah.
And they go there and they see that Waffle House is closed, they're like, oh, that's
Oh man, that's funny.
yeah, like that's their sign. It's like, yep, we need to do some work
There's
now.
probably
you know?
some truth to that though, because like I know
So,
in a previous episode
yeah.
I talked about how I used to be like an avid Waffle House customer, and we even had our own waitress that knew
Right.
our orders and stuff. She told us the same thing. She's like, "Yeah, dude, we never close. We're open for hurricanes and stuff."
Right.
We're like, wow. But
Yeah.
in our area, the places that we thought would stay open all the time, the places that we've never seen close is like Walmart, the gas station,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the like 24-hour gas station. Those were closed, but Waffle House was not.
Yeah. So apparently FEMA has like, I don't know if it's official, but they have like a Waffle House index
No way.
that is basically, yeah, it's a measure of how bad a storm is.
Wow. Wow.
Because it gives a sense of like the infrastructure around it and stuff, you know. Because like you said, that place supposedly never closes. So
Yeah.
if it's closed, it's oh
That's
shoot.
crazy.
But
But yeah, I think so. I think one of the
uh,
reasons that for me, I guess your question was take the news part out of it and let me know your experience. But for me, because of that
mhm.
social dynamic that happened, the news became part of my experience because it was close to home, and
Oh,
like
okay.
it kind of it almost is like I made friends. It's kind of like when you have like the morning radio guys on the way to work, like they kind of become your friends in the morning. You know, you start hearing about stuff that they're going through, and you almost think that they're like friends of yours. You know, and that's kind of what happened
Yeah.
in this case. I'm like, because there's this like really pretty traffic girl on the news. I'm like, oh, there she is. She's back. I guess her shift was up. You know, she probably clocked out at this time, and then now she's back. Look, her dress is
Yeah.
all different. And you're like, but where's this girl? Where'd she go? Oh, there she is. She's back. Now, they used to have her in the newsroom, but now she's in the field, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, like,
you get blown away. It's like-
there's this one lady, my wife thinks is real pretty. And so whenever she's on the screen, then I'm like, hey, your girl's on, your girl's on. And then she'll put down whatever she's doing. She runs in the room, and we just watch her for a little bit. And then all right, let me know when she's back on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just different ways to kind of keep your mind intact while all this stuff is going on around you, you know.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that we do is surprising us, while some of it is a little bit expected, you know. That like the routine stuff, you know, we're still feeding the kids, still giving them baths and stuff. Bedtime, of course, is kind of a little bit flexed because they're not having to prepare to go to school or
Yep.
anything. But there's like a couple of things, like for example, putting the laundry away. We always say it's because we don't have time because we're never home. It still took us like 3 days to put the laundry away, even though we just walked past it like 12 times a day the entire time. Yeah.
Forget that.
So that was kind of funny.
Later.
What's another one? Oh, we've had a little bit of time just to kind of watch some DVDs, which we rarely ever get to do anymore. But hey, check it out. We got a DVD player. Let's watch a couple DVDs because,
Yeah.
you know, there's not... You
Yeah.
kind of, when you're in a little cocoon, you're surprised at what you do with the time and how you occupy it.
I was gonna say if you're into the whole like Game of Thrones thing, then that'd be a perfect time to sign up for like a free
Yeah.
trial of the HBO Now and just like binge
Right.
through all
Actually,
that.
I think
you
one of my
know?
coworkers, I was texting him because he does not even have like a rabbit antenna for his TV. Like, I
Okay.
think his TV is strictly for video games and Netflix.
Okay.
To the point where I don't even knew if he realized that we have network TV. But
if you put a rabbit antenna back there.
he's like, "Wow, you can actually watch regular stuff on here." No, but I know for him, he didn't have the news just like on the TV around the clock. So I would imagine for him, probably just binge watching a bunch of stuff or doing a lot of online gaming or something, you know.
Right.
So Yeah. Like I did see like a lot of Facebook posts. Like some people just occupy their time just thumbing through Facebook, either just kind of for fun,
Mm-hmm.
like hey, here's some pictures of the stuff that's happening in our area, or I know my wife has spent a lot of time just kind of keeping up with the Facebook page that she's a member of. That's like our subdivision specifically, because you can only get so much information on the news, and you're always wondering, does it affect us? Does it
Mm-hmm.
affect us? Well, some of it did, and some of it did not.
Oh, so you guys have a group then? You have a neighborhood. You guys have a
I guess
neighborhood
so. Yeah, that
Facebook
she's a member
group.
of. It's like our own little police
That's cool.
department, our own mayor. Because there's been a lot of false
Yeah.
information that's been put out, and now and then she's like, "Hey, can somebody
Yeah.
confirm if this is true, if this is not true?" So, like, that's one of the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
reasons we were alerted to the. There's been people posing as city officials and then robbing them.
Oh.
Like, yeah, there's been a few cases, and then eventually we saw it on the news, but she first heard about it through that Facebook page where somebody said, "Hey, if there's a city official that comes to the door and asks and says to open it because they need to check something, don't do it, because they might
Mm-hmm.
be posing as somebody and they're really there to rob you, you know."
Yeah.
And then the news confirmed, like, yeah, they have had cases like that. So um, that kind of stuff was, you know, it's not all just a waste of time. It's some of it is informative and productive
No.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
Well. Yeah. Yeah. You're using Facebook to keep informed of neighborhood events. You're not stalking ex-girlfriends and stuff like that. You just
Yeah, yeah,
you can do that on your own time. You don't have to be a storm for
the
that. So
and I've heard
yeah.
again through the news that this is one of the first like huge major natural disasters and recovery efforts in the social media era. So a lot of the information they're getting on where to send the rescue personnel is because they're pinging the
Mm-hmm.
social media. Like that's probably the way we would tell. Like instead of calling 911,
The agencies are actually using social media. You mean to
yes,
like
yeah, to respond
listen
to some
to
of
and
these.
respond to
Hmm.
people?
Hmm. Yeah, and then
That's good.
yeah, even if they can't get to like let's say a 911 is going to take a while, then they're using social media to group together. They're like, okay, let's get in a group, that way when the police or the rescue team gets here, we're already together waiting for them, instead of they have to rescue
Yeah.
like 12 different locations. Now they can only go, they
Right.
only have
Right.
to go to 3, you know. So there's stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, social media actually really is doing its part in this whole thing.
That's good.
um, and most of it's good, you know.
Right.
But yeah, then there are the things that sometimes we're seeing like we're seeing crimes on TV, like when they're doing their field reporting, they're passing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the boats is passing by like a convenience store, and there's people like running in and out of there with stuff. You're like, oh man,
What?
like yeah, you're watching a crime happen right in front of your eyes.
Sheesh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't
And then even like to a lesser extent, even like the police barricades that are barricading like a roadway because of high water, then you'll see cars just
Uh-huh.
bypassing the police and like bypassing the barricades. And then the news
So it's the police coming from the background, just be like, "Hey!" and like run and chase something.
well, we even thought about it. Not, we didn't think about doing that, but we thought about it when we were on the road. Like, you know, I kind of I was kind of speeding a little bit, or like if I'm waiting at a red light, and I was talking to my wife. I said, I could probably just go. Like, I don't think the cops are gonna pull me over and write me a ticket right now. Like they probably got other stuff to do.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. You're not a threat,
that's
right?
a pretty
Yeah.
impressive, I think. Well, not, I don't know about impressive is the right word, but I give the police a lot of credit for that aspect of it, because they still have to enforce the law, even though they're now doing this other job, this additional job of trying to rescue people and trying to keep everybody informed and trying to
Mm-hmm.
keep everybody kind of keep everybody from losing their minds. They still have to enforce the law, you know. So
Yeah.
that is
Right.
another thing that happened. Yeah, so I guess the reason I wanted to mention some of the news stories is because I'm not aware. You know, here being in Houston, we have 24-hour news coverage around the clock the whole week. I don't know what the news coverage is like for the rest of the country or the rest of the world. You know.
Oh, it's friggin' horrible. It's that's why I try not to watch it, because it's just like
But what I'm
they go to some podunk
well,
town,
my question was,
and it's
how,
just
what
like
kind of
yeah.
like how much coverage are you getting about our floods?
I think, I mean, for our local news, like we're still getting it. Like I think pretty regularly, but I'm probably not going to be the most informed person about it because I'm actively trying to stay away from the news. But whenever I hear
Oh,
about
okay,
some
so
piece of news, it's some shocking thing, you know, like it's again, it's
yeah,
there's a mix of that stuff along with the whole like news about the recovery effort or like people like
mm,
donating or you know
mm,
funding things. I think a good sign is that seems to be actual action happening versus just like thoughts and prayers. The whole thoughts and prayers
yeah.
thing kind of gets annoying to me, like in terms of the social media, you know, like oh,
Oh
I'm
yeah, yeah,
thinking
yeah.
of
Changing your profile picture and
yeah, it's
stuff.
like what, huh, okay, no, they need some help, like give them money and stuff, you know.
Change your profile picture to your credit card number,
Yeah,
man.
exactly. so, um, so that seems neat.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah, like
yeah, and
I would
it's in terms
imagine
of
for
that.
you, maybe you are searching it
Mhm.
out. Like maybe when you log in, you're searching out one or two headlines just because we're here. You know, just because your mom's here and we're here. But other than that, I can't really tell. That's why a lot of the news stories that I'm seeing, I don't know if they're getting
Mhm.
national attention because some of them are actually they're actually like really dramatic, and in my mind, they should be getting attention. There's people that are getting rescued like
So
live
those
on TV, and there's people that are getting rescued because it's being broadcast. And I'm like, man, that is like
right.
amazing stuff. But
That's true. I've seen more of I've seen a few of those stories, and that is cool.
yeah,
That is cool to see. Like oh yeah, like people the feel good stories and the people reaching
mm-hmm,
out to helping other people,
yeah,
right? Like even yeah, I think I've seen a story of like a news crew
uh-huh,
stopped filming because they saw a guy stranded somewhere, so they like flagged down
yeah,
a police that was driving by to help them or something, and I was just like, oh okay, so they were stopping, just reporting about a situation and being like, dude, we need to help. Like why are we
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. One
reporting?
one thing that gets me about the news is
Yeah.
is they're always like, look, I'm standing here at this location, and as you can see, there's water all around me, and I'm thinking, how the hell did you guys get there? Like if
Yeah.
none if everybody else is getting stranded and drowning, like how are you guys there?
It's really just a camera and then the green screen and then like the weather.
It's just that highway cam.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah. And then they just like they superimpose the person in
they
front,
they got
and you're just
they got that
like,
little
let's see
clicker,
over here.
the clicker to click through the slides and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Numbers start popping up and stuff like that. Yeah. Then it gets overlaid with a 5-day forecast. Just like, fuck.
Oh man, no, those guys are great,
that's
man. Like
that's
the
what it is.
media, I mean
Yeah.
the amount of coordination they had, and also I saw that some of them, because again I recognize some of the personnel on the channel that we watch, and like they sent
Mm-hmm,
anchor
mm-hmm.
people out into the field. They sent news reporters out into the field because I guess they weren't gonna do that part of the news anymore for a while, and they needed more field reporters to go capture this stuff. So yeah, I thought that'd be cool because yeah, I know in my
Yep.
job,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of resistance when you ask someone to do something that's beyond the scope of their regular job.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
hey man, why don't you go clean the toilet real quick? Like, dude, that ain't my job, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this case, and I don't know if like behind the cameras if they drew straws or if they took volunteers. Like, hey, I'll go out into the field. Or I don't know how that part worked, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, usually I'm like, hey, aren't you usually doing this part of the
Well,
news? Why
I,
are you out
yeah,
there?
I wouldn't be so cynical about it though because I'm pretty sure like all those news people they know like now they know like eyes are on them and they're actually making the impact that they want to make, so they're probably more willing to do
Yeah, I guess so.
certain
I thought
things.
I could relate to a little bit just because again I was a member of the military during 9/11. But even then, we're a bunch of little
Mm-hmm.
kids, a bunch of 19, 20-year-old kids that are like, that ain't my job, man. I mean, because in a
All
weird
right.
way, when you're in the military, 9/11 is not that different. Like, our job didn't change that much because 9/11 happened. We were still preparing for war,
Hmm.
like we always do. Whether or not war was imminent,
Yeah.
we were always preparing for war. So, media, I guess, is different in that regard to where their job really changes whenever something like this happens. You know, they're not just clocking in 9 to 5 or
Mm-hmm,
whatever, putting their hours
mm-hmm.
in.
Right.
So if I had to like put them on I would put them on the same level of importance as kind of the first responder, the civil servants, the police, fire department. And like normally I wouldn't. Normally I said no. Those guys, get the kind of the priority, the accolades, the credit. But
Yeah.
the media I felt like did a really good job with as far
Well,
as.
I'd say the local media, right? Because like for me
Well,
personally, I don't know about. You think kind of it stretches out to like the CNNs of the world and
okay,
the.
no, so not necessarily, but I would also add like they said there were people from like San Antonio news in Houston helping like.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like the ones who are covering it by actually being involved, I guess. Oh no, but that's kind of saying the same thing. Um,
Because no,
I get
there,
what you're
there was
saying.
because there
Okay.
was someone I forgot the guy's name, but there was like the NBC nightly news guy. Like he was here, he was in Houston on location and stuff. But yeah, I got to admit,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't as many like one-on-one interviews with the people on the ground level. It was more probably like it was such a broad article because he didn't have the platform to tell the story outside of his little half-hour window.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying though. Like we're giving props to the local. Sorry, I shouldn't say the local news, but I would say the news that is serving the local community.
Yes,
Because you
I would
guys
agree
are
with that.
using that as a tool now and not really. Let's face it, news, with the exception of what's going on here, news is entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
When we hear about something going on in like Syria, or we hear about something going on, let's say for you,
North Korea.
North Korea, or like even for you, let's say, and mostly for me too, like you hear about something going on in DC.
Uh-huh.
It's entertainment. It gives you a reason to, complain, or a reason to like cheer, or a reason to, well, rarely a reason to cheer, but like a reason to have something to talk about at the water cooler the next day, but nothing, not really utilitarian.
Right.
Whereas now you actually have actionable, like, oh no, those tornado warnings are a real
Especially
thing.
sports, right? Let's say
Right?
like sports. Mostly, like 90% of it is water cooler talk. I mean, they don't directly affect us, but we still pay attention as if it does.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the most useful part then is going to be traffic and weather,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But like, you don't need to know about traffic and weather for me,
Right.
in DC.
Yeah.
So they're only gonna share with you traffic and weather stuff in DC if there's exceptionally odd traffic or weather,
Yeah.
right? I mean, both of us coming from LA, like all those, for traffic, it's not really traffic, but all those like police chases and stuff. I mean, those are fun to watch from where we were sitting. I don't know how they are informing,
Right.
like an audience, unless you're like, ooh, that's really close to where I am at on the road right now.
Yeah, and that
Like,
that might probably matter now that you have like the world of information in your pocket. But back when we were watching car chases on TV, there was no cell phones,
Nah.
there was even no pagers for a while. You weren't watching it to alert you to stay off that road.
Yeah.
You were just watching it just to watch it.
There was a single time where there was an actual car chase, and it gave us a second, like a second pause of like, should we go or not?
Was it the OJ?
Actually, there's
was it
two,
OJ
but the one
chase?
that I was thinking of first, yeah, OJ Chase, which is the slow speed, right?
Yeah.
So they're closing off like freeways and stuff because he's going
Well,
slow,
we had
right?
friends that saw like news choppers and police cars and even the Bronco, right?
Yeah, exactly. The second thing I was thinking about was the LA riots, '92
Oh
or whatever.
yeah.
That was like, oh, we probably, not that we're gonna wind up in LA because we're from the burbs and stuff, but like, oh, we probably should not go to that area. So, and then the extension of that's, maybe we should stay in tonight, right?
Yeah.
Whatever's going on.
And I don't know. We're also
But, yeah.
adults now too. That was back when we were kids, and our parents made the decision of whether or not we left the house.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
maybe that's what they were thinking. Because from my recollection, our family had our first handgun, like because of the riots, the LA riots.
Do you think that was why?
I think so.
That's
yeah.
possible, yeah.
In fact, I have a pretty good memory of like I actually don't know. So here's my memory of that.
Okay.
We were at a coworker of our dad's house, and he said, "Alan, come here." He said, "Look," and he showed it to me. And I kind of looked at it as if it was a live grenade, like it was gonna explode. Like, whoa, man, what the?
Yeah.
Because we're talking what'd you say it was 92? So I would guess I was around 10 years old. So I think he just wanted to show me like it just this is a gun. It's like, okay, here's, don't respect it. Just kind of wanted me to make me informed of it. I don't know how you knew about the gun, or that we bought one, or that was in this house, or like I don't know if you remember your first memory of when we didn't have it and when we did have it, or if it was even that much of a memory for you.
Yeah, it wasn't that much of a memory for me. I mean, I know we went to the shooting range a couple times, so we must have had it then, right? Just by virtue of.
Not that's not the case.
Oh, we didn't have
So
those weren't our guns.
no, so the time that I think you're talking about.
Oh,
Are you talking about the shooting range when we actually fired guns, or are you talking about the shooting
Yeah.
range when we were sitting in behind the plexiglass eating M&Ms?
no, when we actually fired guns.
Oh, okay, because
I didn't even remember the
okay,
other
so
time.
so you don't remember the M&M thing?
No.
I thought I used to talk to you about that.
Oh.
Anyway, so yeah, there was a time when we were like really young, probably like 5 or 6,
Oh.
and our dad went with whoever to this indoor shooting range, and we would just sit kind of in the, what do you call the area, like the gift shop area of the shooting range where you buy the ammo and stuff. We didn't go into the range itself, but
So we didn't need like the ear protection or anything like that because it wasn't.
because we were kids, we were still had our hands over our ears. But
Yeah.
basically, our dad would take his turn shooting, a clip or whatever, and then he'd come outside with us, and then we would just watch while everybody else shot theirs. And I guess we would probably still watch
Wow.
while Dad was shooting his rounds too. But no, none of those guns were ours until that
Okay.
LA Riots thing, and then he showed it to me. And
Yeah.
then because I think he bought it. I think the story was that guy, the coworker, had one, and he sold it to Dad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
after that, I guess we had some experience in shooting because we were like getting a little older, and
Yeah.
then we had like a couple more guns and stuff in the house. But yeah, so it did have a direct effect on us, though, I guess. So that part wasn't. I guess if I had to pick, the OJ one was more entertainment than the riots one.
Yeah, I would. I could see that.
Yeah, but
I don't know if I'd agree, but I would
if you
see that.
remember though, because I have this other memory, when OJ when the verdict came out and he was acquitted, the
He's
next
acquitted?
day,
Uh-huh.
like there was a lot of people absent at school, including teachers.
Oh yeah, that was high school at that point, right?
Maybe for you.
For me, maybe.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I
Maybe
think
it was for
It
me.
was middle school still, but I remember even teachers, like because they were afraid there was going to be another riot.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
apparently though, our parents didn't care about that because we still went to school.
Well, we're Asian, so
They're like, if there's gonna be a riot, you guys got it, dude.
you're going to school. But wait, this is happening. No, you're going to school. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can't. Wait, you're gonna miss your permanent attendance. Dude.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Like your daughter is like, oh man, she's already missing 11 days of kindergarten. It's like if you're the
Yeah, I know.
stereotypical Asian parent, you'd be like, no, I'm taking her to school. I don't care. There's no
Well,
teachers
she asked
there.
me. Yeah, she asked me this week. She goes, "When am I going back to school?" Because we're already getting text messages, me and my wife, about going back to work. Like, hey, when are you guys going back to work? And our daughter, she's like, "When am I going back to school?" I'm like, she goes, "Can I go back tomorrow?" No. Why not? Because you're the only one there. Like, no one's gonna be there because it's still
Yeah.
closed.
Right. Exactly. And so she already started though. So she's been going to school for.
She went to school for 3 days.
Oh, that's it?
and they closed for the thing. Yeah.
Okay.
On
Because for us.
3, off for 11.
Yeah, it's an awesome schedule. But no, yeah, because my son, he just started like this week. So if that was the same schedule, then your daughter wouldn't have started work
Oh,
at all.
right. Yeah, it would just be a wash. They would just postpone her first day of school, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think for us though, the thing we have to deal with is snow days.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and then if there's too many snow days, then you actually end up extending the year.
And so I wonder if that's what they
like
would do
the
here,
school
because
year. So
like I don't think even our area has done this. Not in our lifetime, not in their lifetime. To miss school for 11 days, and we're talking the whole county.
right.
And basically,
Yeah.
basically,
So they
every
may have to
county,
do
we see
something.
on
It
the
depends
news
on.
ticker that this county school closed all week. This county
Yep.
school closed all week, and then by coincidence, it's Labor Day next week, which is why it's 11 days instead of 10.
Yeah. Right. Hey, I'm gonna take a
Okay.
hard left. So we're talking about
Yeah.
like school, and we're talking about like school. So school closures or no schools like staying extended for a while, right? And it made me think about like, well, probably because they want to make sure they cover all the material, which made me think about like, well, the material that a lot of public schools try to cover is for like testing standards type stuff. And a lot of schools have been now like the culture of a lot of schools have to do with like teaching towards a test so that schools can actually like get money right? Like it's an interesting business. Like it's unfortunately not helping our kids at all. So
Well, and it's
yeah.
it's sometimes it's like a third party generated test, right? It's not like your teacher grades you on the stuff that they teach you.
Well,
It's
but the
like they
teacher will know what's on the test, but it's more the fact that like that test may not be actually assessing the kid's intelligence. It might just
well,
be
yeah, and what
assessing
I
like
mean is
yeah. Go ahead.
the test is created not by the teacher or even by the school necessarily.
Correct.
It's by somebody else that
Like a
doesn't.
state. It could be a state.
Yeah,
It could be an organization.
yeah,
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 something
yeah.
like that. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so there's this documentary that I watched. It was pretty eye opening. It's called Race to Nowhere, or The Race to
Okay.
Nowhere, but it had to do with like how man it's and they kind of noted it like it was ever since like No Child Left Behind, which was like ironically like legislation that was designed to try to help kids, but probably ended up hurting
Yeah.
schools more because now like kids are kids are all about like learning or asking like is this
Yeah.
going to be on the test, is this going to be on the test, and then there's pressure for teachers also to like just be like we're only going to teach it to you because it's going to be on a test, we actually don't care about you actually learning this stuff.
Right. Or we do, but we don't have enough time to explain everything if we have to get through this material that's going to be on the test.
No, so the teachers are incentivized now in order to get like bonus money so that the school can get bonus money,
Uh-huh.
that a certain percentage of kids like pass this test, the more percentage of kids the more money you get.
Yeah.
So therefore it's incentivizing them to have a style where they just teach for the test.
Well, and that, I know, but
It's
okay,
yeah.
because
Okay.
what I meant was, do they care that you know the material? I think they prefer that you know the material. But if knowing the material is going to mean that you're less likely to pass the test, then maybe they have to choose the latter instead of the former.
Yes, correct. Well, and so they're choosing the latter instead of the former, for the most part.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like you said, they're being pressured to, right? They're being incentivized.
exactly, yeah. Like you know, if you want to be, if you want to be able to get the resources to do your job well next year, you have to
Right,
do
right,
this.
right, right, right.
So which is kind of crazy. Like it's kind of messed up. So, anyways, I was a good documentary. I recommend it, but it's interesting because I'm definitely keeping an eye now on like, you know, all right, what style of teaching is going on in the classroom? And right, our kids are in kindergarten right now, so it's pretty
Yeah.
negligible. But over the years, you know, it also creates like students that not only are not retaining information, but they're just becoming so disinterested
Okay. What
in
do you?
learning.
So,
So.
what's your takeaway? Does it make you frustrated? Does it make you kind of want to do something about it? Does it make you like, oh yeah,
It's frustrating. Yeah, frustrating is a good word to use because um, it means that I'm pretty sure that our kids, the quality of education that they're going to get is not the same as the quality of education that we got.
I agree, but I don't think I agree in the same way that you're talking
Hmm.
about. Because
Oh, okay.
I think the education I get from the school is probably really limited. But I do think that as a kid learns and grows and develops and matures, there's a world of knowledge out there outside the school, and we as um, society with the internet, with computers, and just with the amount of data that we have collected and presented, I think that the potential for what they can learn is exponentially greater for what they're interested in. If they can find an interest in something, and it's a big if, because some of them they're like, hey, I don't really care to know it because I can't see how it applies. But if they find an interest in
Yeah.
something, there's a world of knowledge right at their fingertips. Where for us, I felt like we were more like maybe the level of education in school, the quality of the material was probably a little bit more robust, but we were also more dependent on it. I think. Like take for example,
Hmm.
you have a report and it requires like three sources. You have to go to the library and check for the index card, and if it's not there, it's just not there. Maybe go to a different library or maybe borrow the thing from a friend because they checked it out before you did.
Hmm.
It's not like that anymore. You know, I heard something about if you think
Hmm.
about any
Hmm.
subject, there's some kind of thumb rule that
Sure.
if you read three books on any one subject, that you know more about that subject than like 99% of the population.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
So now, so hold on. So the flip side of that, right, is because there's much greater access and much lower barriers to that information.
Uh huh.
Kids are a much higher expectation is placed on the kids to actually use more information, and so the bar is set to a point where like
You need to know everything now,
yeah,
right?
like now you have to do everything, and so that can have some dire effects on anything from like self-esteem to like the mental health to I guess those are the two main things
Mm-hmm.
to yeah, and so those the combination of those two things, let's say low self-esteem and like just horrible mental health, will have kids that are like at best disinterested in learning, at worst like they just feel like they're worthless.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I see where you're coming from. I guess
yeah.
in my mind, I say that's where the parents have a role. Um,
But I think the parents. So, for example, the parents, at least in this documentary, what was interesting is if let's say that one example they gave was like a lot of parents were noticing that fights were happening in their house, right? A lot of arguments were stemming from
okay.
homework and like the amount of homework that was given in
Okay.
classes. So let's say like your child is given like 3 hours of homework on average a night. I don't know. I'm just making that
That.
number up, but like I would think
Okay.
that's a lot. But so like as a parent, like is it your job to like a parent was saying, some parents will edit their kids' homework. Some parents will do their kids' homework for them, and some parents will
Uh,
not do anything. So what's the parent's job at that point? And like what is the purpose
yeah.
of the homework? You know. So so I could see the arguments happening where the kids will probably just tell the
Yeah.
parents like, why do I got to do this? And if the parents are just backing to say like, well, because it's your job, because you're a kid, and so your job as a kid is to do homework. Let's say, right? Well, it might not necessarily be, um, like an over and done case because maybe the kids are being assigned too much homework, but nobody's gonna
Yeah.
advocate for that. Let's say nobody's looking out for that. So, so those are the sort of things like I would be kind of
Yeah.
keeping up with like as a parent as well.
Yeah.
Um,
I could see. I could
so and
see.
yeah, go ahead.
I could see the shift happening. I can see the cause and the effect of what's happening. It's, with the workload and the curriculum and stuff. It is a challenge. We've talked about it before.
Mm-hmm.
How it is a challenge to match the curriculum with what you think a kid should know 10, 20, 30 years in their future, because there's so much that's unknown. So it's a tall task anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, as a parent, I think it's really cool to be aware of that dynamic, because um, we have to know that our generation, like parents of our generation, when we were students, our parents didn't have the same roles and responsibilities that we do for our kids when they become students, and it's because of the things you're talking about. Like I'm reminded of another. I didn't get my hands on this documentary, but I've heard about it, and I've heard a synopsis about it. It's called 2 Million Minutes, and it's
What's it called again?
Two
Sorry.
Million Minutes.
2 million minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I actually can't find it anywhere. If anybody has that, or can tell me where to get it, then I would love to get my hands on it so I can watch it. But it basically talks about the 4 years of high school, i.e., 4 years is like about 2 million
Two
minutes of
million.
time, and it says in
Hmm.
those 2 million minutes, what do you do with that time in order to maximize the possibility that you're going to pursue and achieve success for yourself? Because it's a really important time, 4 years of high school, you know, and you're going to go through a
Mm-hmm.
lot of stuff, and there's going to be a lot of things you do with that time, a lot of ways that you think you're making the most out of that time. You still only have 2 million minutes. All of us do, you know, and so when you
Right.
spend a year daydreaming and spend another year chasing tail and spend another year
Right.
making money, you know, then man, it's as much as it sounds like an abundance of time, it's still a limited number of minutes. That's still a finite number of minutes. So, yeah, but it's basically that from the.
I'm trying to let go. I'm trying to let go of this nagging thought in my head that like, something's off about that number. But
as far as the calculation.
But
here, I'll do it right now.
Yeah.
You got 60 minutes in an hour, right? Times 24 hours in a day, right?
I think it's talking about more than one person. Like 2 million minutes is probably not one person.
Not times 365 days in a year, right?
Yeah.
So far, I'm at 525,000.
Hold on. It's okay. So there's a song. There's that Broadway show Rent.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a song about minutes or something, and it's like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, wait a second. Like it wasn't 2 million. Like it was like more than a lifetime.
But it might not have been 4 years.
No, but I think it was a lifetime.
I just calculated 4 years. 4 years is 2.1 million minutes.
Okay.
They just didn't want to call the documentary 2.1 million, I guess.
No, I think you're right.
Damn, it says it right on the calculator.
It's okay. The song "Seasons of Love," and they're talking about 525,600 minutes. But I think that's a year.
Yes.
So if you multiply by 4, then it's 2 million. Okay, sorry. It's freaking stupid memory in my head that I actually wish could just get dislodged.
So you missed my whole story because you were trying to calculate 4.
Yeah, I'm a fuck up, which is good because I'll just listen to the episode in a month, which is about when we release these things, I guess. And it'll be a nice, like, little, a hurricane happened.
Well, yeah, actually, I was kind of hoping you would do a special release because of the hurricane.
Oh, okay. If you're gonna do it, then I'll do it. Sure.
So it's
not gonna be in a month.
Either like do a a pop-up episode, or you can backdate everything else.
Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I'll just back everything else up. So, sorry for not paying attention. So, good thing with the power of technology, I can run it back unless you feel like explaining it again. But I'm totally not expecting you to.
I'll do what I do. Well, and it's on me to edit it first, right? I have a responsibility. In order for you to broadcast it next, I have to make sure it's edited and off the press.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
But yeah, education is a thing. So, okay. So without further ado, then let's go ahead and end things where we're at, so that we have a shot of getting this, up. So I don't know. I know Paul likes to talk about like what do you have to next weekend, but you're probably just gonna be reined in. So.